Welcome to stage 11 of Misspoke, a cycling podcast for this coronavirus pandemic period. It's a little podcast with things to do with cycling and quite a few short stories, monologues, opinions, memoirs, autobiographical snippets, a little bit of everything, and I hope you find something to enjoy. Anyway, I'm going to start stage 11 with a short story, and this short story is called Macedonia, and it was inspired by a entry in Bradley Wiggins' book Icons, and you'll hear as you go along how Bradley Wiggins fits into this particular story. Anyway, this is Macedonia. Clovis sat in his armchair reading Bradley Wiggins' book, Icons. There was a newspaper cutting printed in the book, a race that Wiggins won, and there, in fourth place, was the name, S. Griskovitz, North Downs Wheelers Cycling Club. His club, Clovis's club. Once a big name in the cycling firmament, now smaller, less well known, but still chugging along, still with a proud tradition, still the occasional member who could make a splash on a bigger stage. Clovis had been a member of the club for 10 years, and he'd never heard of this strange-sounding person. Who was this S. Griskovitz? Where had he come from? What had happened to him? What trajectory did his life take compared to Wiggins? Clovis texted his clubmates. Did anyone know who this man was? A text came back from someone who knew the name. He was in the club, years ago. He knew someone who remembered him. Clovis arranged to meet up with them and discuss club history. "Bring any old newsletters," said Clovis, "and any pictures or stories you have." They met in their usual cafe. Cold outside, warm inside, fog on the windows, not many tables occupied. Nina Simone on the shuffle singing "That's All I Want From You." Norman had a donut, frosted with thick icing. Clovis had soup, thick and green like snot, bits floating in it. "What's the soup?" said Norman. "A little love that slowly grows and grows." "Not sure. Lots of garlic, bit of potato, carrot." "What's the green?" "Not sure. It's green soup. That's what they call it. It's the special, green soup." "Green soup? Weird," said Norman. "What's it taste of?" "Green," said Clovis. "I have no time to waste." "Leftovers," said Norman. "It's leftovers, what it is." Clancy was one of the oldest members and had been in the club for more than 30 years, although the good times and the bad, the schisms and splits, the disagreements. He remembered all those who had threatened to leave over the years and still kept in touch with some who had. He had grey hair, thinning, big eyebrows, fierce eyes, slim, as they all were. Strong, but the muscles not quite so strong, and recovery took longer. But he still rode every other day and still did 150 miles in an average week. He drank tea, Earl Grey, splash of milk, a spoonful of sugar. "How can you put sugar in Earl Grey?" said Clovis. "I always do. Did. Love it. It's an acquired taste." "Tomorrow might not come." "Not by me," said Clovis. Norman took a bite of his donut. The hard white sugar cracked and fell down his chin. He rubbed the back of his hand across his lips. "Yeah," said Norman. "I remember him. Solomon. That was him. Solomon Griskovitz. Crazy name, crazy guy. Back in the day. Big guy. Young. Strong as a fox. No, ox. Good rider. Albanian, I think. Or not. Macedonian, maybe. Croatia? Balkans, anyway. One of those rogue states." "Rogue?" said Clovis. "You know what I mean," said Norman. "Civil War, Tito, Srebrenica, Radovan somebody or other." "Karadzic," said Clovis. Jam spurted out of the side of Norman's donut and splashed on his club jersey. It looked like a bloodstain. Clovis sipped his coffee, Americano with hot milk, strong and thick, dense with a sharp taste that attacked the palate. He glanced at Marina behind the counter. Dark wavy hair casually pushed behind her ears. Tall, slim, pretty. Long fingers, soft lips, foreign, strong accent, hard-working. She ignored him. "And? I don't know," said Norman. Disappeared after a few years. We could find him, said Andrew. It could be a Channel 4 documentary. Where is Solomon? Finding Solomon. Judgment on Solomon. What do you think? A sunny day, with hopes up to the skies. Good idea, said Clovis. Where do we start? Google it. Always works. They sat there, iPhones in hand, the three of them, all Googling. Clovis sipped his soup and watched Marina. Anything? Said Clovis. He's not on Facebook, said Andrew. Smart boy. Or Strava. Not on Strava, said Clovis. You sure? Can't be a cyclist any more then if he's not on Strava. Or Twitter. Not on Twitter? He's really off-grid, isn't he? Off-grid, said Andrew. Off-grid? What's that then? No footprint. No social media profile, said Clovis. Perhaps he disappeared like Lord Lucan. Lucan's dead, said Andrew. Yeah? Who says? I saw a documentary. He was shot and thrown overboard, in the Channel, by his friends, you know, Aspinall and the other one. Or was it the other way round? Anyway, he's dead. Maybe, said Clovis mysteriously. I have no time to waste. Oh, for fuck's sake, said Norman. Forget Lucan. There's something here on 192, said Andrew. Same initial, same surname, right age profile. Lives in Stratham. Is it an address? Phone number? No, that costs extra. You need a subscription. What would we do, said Andrew, if we find him? Then what? Ask him if he still cycles, said Norman. He could rejoin the club. See if he knows he's in Wiggins' book. How should I know? It's a quest, isn't it? What do you do when you finish the quest? Like Lord of the Rings, said Clovis. We find the ring and then... Hang on, what happened to the ring? They threw it in the crack of doom. Painful, said Clovis. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. When we find the ring, when we find him. They finished their coffees and food, stood up. I'll pay, said Norman. No, said Clovis. It's my turn. He wanted to see Marina close up. And I've got my coffee token. I'm due a free one. You'll be lucky, said Clancy. Clovis went to the counter and gazed longingly at Marina. She punched the buttons on the till, hardly noticing him. She was still thinking of sourdough and doughnuts, porridge recipes and cake fillings, free trade coffee. Clovis used his contactless card. He loved contactless. It made him feel like a millionaire. He hardly carried cash anymore, like the Queen. A little love, that's all I want from you. Bye, Marina, he said. Bye, she said. She couldn't remember his name. They swaddled up. Buffs, headscarves, gloves, helmets. Clancy unlocked the bikes. You out Wednesday? Said Clovis. I expect so, said Norman. Me too, said Andrew. Probably, said Clancy. Clovis drove to Stratham. He didn't feel like cycling. The forecast said sleet and 2 degrees and the roads would be busy. He was worried about black ice. Stratham was suburbia, close-packed little streets, big Edwardian houses. But that wasn't where he was heading. He parked near a tower block. It was dark and foreboding, and there was broken glass at the bottom of the stairs. The lift was out of order. He climbed the stairs to the 6th floor, knocked on a door. A small boy answered the door, maybe 6 years old, a shock of blonde hair, wide-eyed, dirty face, wearing shorts and a T-shirt with a picture of Zinedine Zidane on the front, barefooted. Not Zidane, the boy. There was a large dog behind him, long-haired, with a drooling mouth and dirty paws, peering round, anxious to see the stranger at the door. Clovis looked down at the boy, who stared up at him, not saying anything. Hello, said Clovis. What's your name? The boy said nothing. The dog barked. Clovis didn't know what to do. Nice doggy, he said. What do you want? Shouted a woman's voice from deep inside the flat. Who is it? Go away. My name is Clovis, Clovis shouted into the emptiness. The boy continued to look at him. The dog sat back on its haunches and began to lick its private parts. Clovis didn't know what to do. An elderly woman appeared at the end of the corridor, wheeling herself along in a wheelchair. She dragged herself with her stockinged feet, her arms resting on the armrests. Progress was very slow as the chair creaked and squeaked on the laminate floor. She stopped behind the dog. The boy turned and ran away. Who are you? The woman said at last. What do you want? She had grey hair, skinny arms, a shawl over her shoulders, a pair of glasses perched on the top of her head. One lens was cracked. I was looking for Solomon, said Clovis. Does he live here? Why? I'm from a cycling club, North Downs Wheelers, said Clovis. Solomon was a member many years ago. I saw his name in a book. This book. He held out a photocopy of the page from Wiggins's book. I can't see, said the woman. I'm sorry, said Clovis. I'm not blind. I mean, I haven't got my glasses. Oh, said Clovis. He didn't feel he should tell her they were on the top of her head. Anyway, I found his name in this book and I wanted to find him to see if he wanted to start cycling again and see if he still cycled, maybe join our club again. He doesn't cycle, said the woman. Not any more. You'd better come in. She pushed herself backwards and then turned and headed off back down the corridor. Not any more, she said again. Clovis entered through the door and shut it behind him. The dog brushed his legs. Nice doggy, he said. She entered a dark living room. The curtains were closed, television on but the sound turned down. A 2-bar heater blasted out heat. There was a man sleeping on a big dark brown leather sofa. He wore dark trousers and a T-shirt with a picture of Maradona on the front. He was swarthy and unshaven, with big bushy black eyebrows, and was snoring steadily. I'm sorry, said Clovis to the woman who had wheeled herself in front of the television. I didn't mean to disturb you. Don't mind him, she said. That's Simon. He works nights. Make us some tea, she said then. The kitchen's there. You'd be quicker than me. You'll find everything you need on the counter. Milk's in the fridge. I take 2 sugars. Clovis made the tea and carried the cups into the room. He sat down in an old grey armchair. The stuffing was leaking out like a cooked sausage. A week later, the ride finished, back in the cafe. Marina still behind the counter, beautiful as ever. This time Clovis had a latte. It came in a glass. When it came, there was the shape of a heart in the creamy froth on the surface. Look, he said. She fancies me. They always do that, said Norman. It's not special for you. So you say, said Clovis. So you say. You're obsessed, said Andrew. Why not, said Clovis. Might as well be obsessed about something. Any joy, said Norman. With Marina, said Clovis. No chance. Not Marina. You've got no hope there. You'd have more luck with Lord Lucan. Any joy with the mysterious Solomon? Lucan's dead, said Andrew. Forget Lucan. Jesus. Any joy with Solomon? Yeah, said Clovis. And? I found him. And? Christ, this is like pulling teeth. Sorry, said Clovis. He ordered toast. The girl brought it over, not Marina. She cooked. She didn't serve. It came on a square plate, 2 slices of sourdough bread, lightly toasted, a pat of butter, a little glass dish of jam. He spread the butter on one of the slices. He had to scrape. The butter was hard. You never get enough butter, he said. Ask for more, said Norman. You can always ask for more. You never do that, said Clovis. You never ask for more butter. That's one of the rules. Anyway, I'm an athlete. He took a bite of toast and chewed it carefully. He said. I found him. I got a subscription to 192 and got the address. It's in Stratham, like I said. No phone number, just the address. So, what are you going to do? Said Andrew. I've done it. I went round there, knocked on the door. And? It wasn't him. What? It's got to be him, said Andrew. It's such an unusual name. Same age, local, everything. It doesn't got to be him, and I'm telling you it wasn't him. It was his brother, twin brother. Twin brother? Said Norman. I didn't know he had a brother. Is he a cyclist? Funnily enough, said Clovis. No. He's done a bit, but mostly he's a runner. So where's Solomon? Did you find that out? Yeah, I had a long chat with Simon. He's the brother, and his grandmother. She lives there. She's disabled. Has disabilities, I mean. Simon remembered the club. Said Solomon used to talk about it a lot. And about Wiggins. Crits at the Palace, club rides, races on the rollers, in the clubhouse, the Brighton Run, evening 10s, open 25, everything. He said Solomon went back to Macedonia in 1999. Their parents were ill. He carried on cycling, won a few races, just amateur stuff, road races mostly. He was in the army. He could have been a contender, said Simon. And then he got killed in 2001. Oh, said Norman. Oh, said Andrew. How? Said Clancy, speaking for the first time. Landmine, said Clovis. He was mine clearing in Serbia. Missed one, obviously. Killed instantly. Oh, said Clancy. He was a good cyclist. But his brother wants to get back into cycling, said Clovis. Simon, he wants to join the club. He's going to come out on Saturday. He's still got one of Solomon's bikes, steel. That's good, said Clancy. He'd be good. It's in the genes. How old is he now? Same age as Solomon would have been, said Clovis. They were twins, don't forget. 38. Good, said Norman. Marina was at the sink washing cups. Clovis looked at her. She looked nice from the back. Looked nice from the front, too. An elderly couple came into the cafe and sat down. The man took a Kindle out of his pocket and started reading. The woman started knitting. They didn't talk. The man signalled to Marina, obviously regulars. She started the coffee machine. Who wants more tea? Said Andrew. Go on then, said Clovis. And shortbread. Get me shortbread. That story was called Macedonia, and if you'd like to read more of my short stories, you can find them in Tour de Fiction, which is available from Amazon, either as a paperback or for the Kindle. And now another one of my affectionate cycling monologues. And this is a very popular cycling activity these days, and something that I'm very keen to do myself, although I haven't yet done so, partly because of coronavirus and partly because of, well, other reasons. And this one is called The Bikepacking Rider. So anyway, bikepacking, I tell you, that's the future. Not touring, not panniers and all that stuff, and a big bar bag weighing you down, and those big Ortlieb panniers like the CTC wankers have. No, bikepacking, what you do, right, is you get this sort of pack which attaches to your saddle rails and sticks up behind your bum, and you put a change of clothes in there, and then you have a little top tube bag which carries your phone and your tools. You can't get anything else in there. I'm going bikepacking in the Lake District. Want to come? I'm going for like a long weekend. I'm going to put all my stuff in this bag. It's by Apidura, and I got it from Rafa. It cost a fortune, but it's got like a bit of Rafa pink on it, so it's really cool. I mean, it's an Apidura bag, really, only more expensive. And I won't have any clean underwear or anything, just the one pair of shorts and a jersey, maybe a rain jacket I put in the bag, and some spare socks. That should be enough. I'll only be gone a few days. I fancy doing that transcontinental race. Have you heard about that? It goes from like Belgium to Turkey, or is it Greece? Somewhere east anyway. And you have to sort the route out yourself and sign in at these checkpoints. Someone did it last year in just a week or something. It was amazing. I could do that. I've never done more than 70 miles at one go, but how hard can it be? If you've got your kit in your bike packing bag, why do they bother? I mean, it's cold and you get wet and there's no change of clothes or cooking equipment or nothing. They must be mad. I can't do that. I need my own comforts and a toilet, not a hole in the ground and a shower. What's wrong with Premier Inn anyway? They're good value, Lenny Henry says, so I'd rather get the train or go by car, even if I could drive, to be honest. And now a word from my sponsor. Not really a sponsor. I haven't actually got any sponsors, but if you know anybody who'd like to sponsor a little podcast called Misspoke, then please tell them to get in touch. Now, I'm picking brands and cycling items that I quite like, that deserve a little bit of publicity on a little bit of podcast. And the one I've chosen today for Stage 11 is High Five. And High Five are hydration tablets, is that what they're called? Electrolytes. Anyway, you put one tablet or two tablets in your water bottle and they fizz a bit, and they come in different flavours, sort of berry or lemon or strawberry or raspberry or that kind of thing. And as you go for a ride, well, you drink it. Now, they're supposed to be important, these electrolytes and this hydration. I always thought hydration was drinking, but apparently you can't do it unless you've got a tablet in it. Anyway, I like the taste of High Five tablets. High Five tablets. It's difficult to say whether they're doing me any good, but it's like all of these things. If it feels like it's doing you good, then it probably isn't. No, actually it probably is. So High Five tablets. Other tablets are available, and I've tried lots of them, but High Five are my favourites. Check them out. You can get them from Wiggle or from all good bike shops. And now another chapter from my novella about the Liège, Bastogne Liège sportive, and this is called The Monument, and this is chapter 8, part 2, Belgium. They drove off the train and into a France bristling with barbed wire, double fences and searchlights. It was like a scene from The Great Escape, and all to stop migrants from entering Britain, that land of sour milk and mouldy honey. The sky was overcast and it was raining. Drive on the right, said Eric, sliding back in his seat. "Wake me when you stop." The big car thrummed and hummed, and the windscreen wipers swished away the drifting rain. Clovis set the Apple CarPlay and found his Spotify to load up his favourite tunes. France slipped past, flat and featureless, the motorway scything through the empty land. They slipped into Belgium, a solitary sign betraying the transition from one part of a united Europe to another. Eric was snoring, heavy, rasping gasps that made his head shake. His head was tilted back and his mouth open. A thin line of spittle collected at the corners of his mouth, and Clovis watched it hang there and get longer until it broke and pulled on his chin, and a strand landed in his lap like an ash-blonde hair. Clovis indicated and pulled off the road into a service stop. Eric woke as he was filling up the car. He was discombobulated and looked around with bleary eyes and a damp chin. "Where are we?" he said. "Belgium," said Clovis. "You getting out?" "I need a piss," said Eric. Eric's bladder was weak and filled up quickly. They were always stopping on a ride for him to disappear into the bushes, sighing as his flow drenched the ground. Clovis paid and wandered around the shop. The toilets were next to the cafe, and Eric emerged, wiping his hands on his trousers. "In there it smells of shit and chips," he said. "Out here it smells of chips and shit. Not sure which is worse or better." They ordered chips and sausage rolls and stood at the counter and ate the chips with mayonnaise. This was Belgium, after all. Clovis gazed out of the window at the petrol station forecourt. A blue Skoda pulled in with yellow British number plates. The driver looked familiar. "Who's that?" said Clovis, pointing out the window as the driver emerged from the car. "Dunno," said Eric. "Never seen him before. Should I?" "He looks familiar," said Clovis, "but I can't place him. I think I saw that car at the tunnel." "You're paranoid," said Eric. "Hardly surprising if you saw it at the tunnel. He was probably on the train like we were. That's how you got here." "Am I? I wonder. You ready?" They drove on. The countryside gave way to suburbs and heavy traffic, ring roads, roundabouts and endless lanes, trucks and coaches, Brussels. It seemed to take forever to emerge from the scrawl back onto relatively clear roads and pick up speed again. Eric gazed out of the window. "I wonder what it is," he said at last. "Our contraband," said Clovis. "It's got to be drugs, hasn't it? That's what people smuggle, usually, so I'm told." "Who told you?" "No one. It's an expression." 10 grand seems a lot for one journey with 2 bikes. You can't get that much coke, or smack as you call it, into 2 bikes. Can you?" "How should I know? I've never tried." "Depends how you do it. In the tubes, in the handlebars. They're all hollow. Take the inner tubes out and fill the tyres. I imagine you could get quite a bit." "I've got tubeless tyres." "It's not your bike, though, is it?" said Clovis. "Oh, yeah, I forgot. Maybe it's not drugs. Maybe it's military secrets, microfilm." "Microfilm? This isn't the Cold War. No one uses microfilm anymore. We're not crossing Checkpoint Charlie in a Trabant with a Minox hidden in our shaving cream and a hard-faced East German defector hiding under the seats." "Not yet, maybe. I don't use shaving cream. I use an electric razor." "So do I. It's an expression. That's where they hid it before electric razors. I used to have a Minox when I collected cameras. Amazing thing." "What were the pictures like?" "Dunno. I never used it. Couldn't get the film. I just liked the design." "Where is it now?" "Sold it. eBay along with all the others. Leicas, Hasselblad, Rolleiflex, Nikon F1 up to F6, loads of them. Anyway, our friends at Jay's don't look much like spies, do they? They're hardly Philby, Burgess and McLean, are they? Somehow I don't think they became communists at Cambridge and decided to overthrow the West. I don't see Jay as one of the Krogers, do you? Is it that obvious, though? Can you spot a spy like you can spot a drug dealer? Can you spot a drug dealer? Did you spot the flower pot men? No. But then we don't know if they are drug dealers. They were entering Liège. It wasn't pretty, tired, poor suburbs, heavily industrialised, shabby in the damp grey weather. They were staying about 5 miles away from the centre in a suburb or a village, it was hard to tell. A small house Clovis had found on Airbnb. The village or suburb was spotlessly clean, peaceful, quiet, with no one on the streets. Clovis loved the architecture of the houses, many of them determinedly cubist, with flat roofs, large corner windows, and every house with a garage, and most with 2. The streets were wide and clear, and they all had off-street parking, so the side roads were kept clear of traffic. There was poverty in Liège, that was clear, run-down areas and small houses, but in the majority of Belgium there seemed to be equality. There were few very large or ostentatious houses as one found in Britain. Most houses were of a similar size. People seemed to show their wealth in the originality of the architecture rather than the size of their house and garden. And most of the houses seemed new or to have been built recently. Partly that was because they were kept spotlessly clean and well maintained, and partly because many of them were relatively new, so much of Belgium having been damaged in the 2 world wars. Clovis parked the car outside of their rented house, and they unloaded their kit and bikes and went inside. "I'm hungry," said Eric. "We need to get some food." "We passed a shop a few hundred yards down the road," said Clovis. "Let's walk down there." They wandered down the deserted streets to a small shop on the corner. "Do you have bread?" asked Clovis in his clearest voice. "Non, monsieur," said the man behind the counter. "There is a machine up the road." "Machine?" said Clovis. "What sort of machine? Bread-making machine?" Clovis thought maybe the man was making fun of him, a crazy Englishman in a strange land. "I ain't making bread," said Eric. "I'm on holiday." "Vending machine," said the shopkeeper. "Really? Weird," said Clovis. "Thanks. Merci." A few doors up the street was a vending machine, but instead of containing cans of Coca-Cola or sweets, it contained bread, and some of the containers still had bread in them. Clovis put some euro coins in the slot, and they selected their loaf. The machine whirred, and he opened the door and removed the loaf of bread. "Amazing," said Eric. "Imagine having the job of filling these bread machines." Clovis said, "I read somewhere that many of the bakeries in small rural towns in France are subsidised by the local community, so they always have access to fresh bread. I suppose they do this when it's too small to have a bakery." That night they ate pizza, bread and cheese, coarse peppery salami, salad, and downed a few of the Belgian beers. The house was warm and cosy and quiet, and there was cycling on the television. Life seemed good. Make sure you tune in for the next stage of the Misspoke podcast so that you can follow Clovis and Eric and their adventures on the Bastogne Liège sportive. And we're going to finish this particular episode with another extract from my life in bikes. And if you remember from the last episode, it ended with me wanting to get an endurance bike. Here we go. Bianchi, 2013. Bianchi was the name to conjure with. One of the oldest established bike manufacturers, which counted Coppi and Pantani amongst its former riders, and an iconic colour scheme, Celeste, or a greeny-blue turquoise to the rest of us. Bianchi had an owners group on Facebook, which put me off a bit. There was something cultish about their passion for a particular shade of blue-green, but the bikes seemed able to rise above their slightly weird adherence. Their Infinito model was widely praised, and Epic Cycles had one with my name on it. It had to be ordered online and would be delivered, but I didn't mind that. I placed the order. I was a Campagnolo man now, but super record on more than one bike was above my pay grade, so Athena it was, and Mavic Syrian wheels and white bar tape. My wife agreed to be in on the day it was delivered and phoned me at work to tell me so that I could rush home and discover it for myself. I tore open the box, desperate to be bathed in that Celeste glow, to be greeted with a Kuota. What was this? I'd never even heard of a Kuota. I phoned Epic Cycles, apoplectic with rage, to discover the reason for this vile trick. It seemed that my Bianchi had been sent to someone who had ordered a Kuota, and their Kuota had been delivered to me. It got sorted out, of course, but it took time I didn't want to waste. And then it arrived. God, that bike was beautiful. I went to Geoffrey Butler in Croydon and bought a Bianchi-branded pump in Celeste, Celeste Speedplay pedals, 2 Celeste bottle cages, 2 Celeste-branded bottles, and a Celeste saddlebag. They called me Marie Celeste. I didn't join the owners' club, though. The club organised a trip to France to watch the Tour and to ride Mont Ventoux and Alpe d'Huez, and I took the Bianchi. My, how that Celeste shone in the Provence sun as I ground my way up Ventoux and suffered on the Alps' 21 bends, helmet off to the great annoyance of my wife when she saw the pictures. We watched the riders race up the Alp and cheered Cavendish and Miller and the others as the rivers of piss and shit flowed down the mountainside from the hundreds of thousands of people gathered there. The frame had countervail technology, me neither, to reduce vibrations, and it was smooth and comfortable to ride. And of course it looked like the dog's bollocks with its white bar tape, white saddle, speed play pedals and effortlessly aching, elegant rider. You've been listening to Stage 11 of Misspoke, a cycling podcast in the coronavirus pandemic situation. My name is Julian Hutchings. I hope you've enjoyed it, and make sure you tune in for Stage 12. Take care.